I'm happy you're here and checking out this video. My name's Chris McGuinness, also known in high school as Chris, Sting, Stinger, and McGuinea Pig. I'm with PulseCinema, and this is my first tutorial video. So please forgive the beginner mistakes, and I'm a little boring. But the information is there, and I do hope that you enjoy it. I have a list of content of cool things I want to show to you and how I do those. At least I think they're cool. And, so I hope you will subscribe, and I hope you will ring that bell to see future content. Big shout out to Morgan King and Philip Gillette, who brought me in on The Spine of Night to do some special effects for a segment of the movie. And that's what got me to do this tutorial again. It's a feature animation. It's coming. It's awesome, and you're going to want to check it out. Morgan is a writer on this, and he's doing some amazing animation. Philip is a writer also, and you may have seen some of Philip's work, Europa Report, and more recently, Love, Death, and Robots. He's a writer adapter on those scripts, and pretty cool stuff on Netflix. You can check that out. Anyhow, I'm really honored to have been a part of that project, and I just can't wait to see it, and I can't wait for you guys to see it too. All right, today what we're going to talk about is kind of the techniques that I use to do Mysterium and Beyond Earth. We're also going to create a snow effect, and you're going to be able to download that snow effect, and you're going to be able to use that snow effect however you want, wherever you want, in perpetuity. The YouTube community is awesome. There's a lot of great content creators, and I just want to be part of that community and share with you and kind of have that interaction and collaborate. And so I hope to see you, and if you have questions about what I'm doing, please put them below in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer, if you have questions about, techniques that I may not have explained during the show. Let's get the video rolling, Chris. Get it rolling.
First off, generally I work with a 10-gallon tank or below. So I have a 10-gallon tank, I have a 5-gallon tank, and I have a 2.5-gallon tank. And depending on the needs, if I need to kind of have things in the tank, I'm going to use the 10-gallon tank. If it's more cutaways, I can use the smaller tanks with just the ink. And why I do that is because back when I did Mysterium, I kind of tested some solutions and eventually came out with one solution that I thought worked really well was something like Miralax, but it's kind of expensive. So I looked for options. I found this Laxiclear stuff from Kirkland brand, which is Costco, and 2 of these is going to run you I think about $22. So it can get a little expensive because it's a per take usage. And all of that is going to go in a 10-gallon tank.
One thing I should warn you is when you go to Costco or wherever you go and you buy 4 years of Miralax or Laxiclear or any of that kind of stuff, and you're in line and people are looking at you because they're very concerned about you, yeah, sorry for that.
So it's going to cost you $22 just to line up and shoot one set of shots inside of that tank. So if you use a 5-gallon tank, right, you're going to be able to use one of those in there. And if you use a 2.5, you're going to be able to cut that in half and use just half of one of these. What I like about the Miralax is it thickens up the water and it slows down the movement of the milk and the ink in the water. Also, it's quick with the draining process. It takes about 30 minutes to turn a tank from all inked and dirty into a tank that's clean and ready to go. So when laying out the tank, you might want the back to be black, or you might want to actually see through. When I want to see through the tank, I have some lighting back here and like a slider with a light on it as the sun. You could angle that to kind of pass more naturally, which feels more like the sun's progression instead of left to right. But often you just want to black it out and have that and not have any distraction back there. And today we're going to use that technique. My favorite way to do that, good old Cinefoil. Cinefoil forms itself, it's black. It's pretty easy to use. So I just got a brand new one here that we are going to work with. So in order to pull a piece off, what I do is kind of just get a measure on it. If I'm just lighting from the top or the bottom, I tend to just wrap it around, but you'll figure out what's working best for you. So it doesn't have to come all the way around. I'll just tear that, we'll roll it a little bit just to kind of let it naturally fall in there. And I'm gonna start on one side. What I like to do is get spring clamps. And I'll just clamp it right here. Come back to the back of the tank here. And it's good to clamp it. You can take those clamps off after you fill it with water, but it will kind of move around when the water is being filled. And clamp it. Yeah. Today I'm just gonna work with making some snow, and then we're gonna do some ink drop stuff. But one of the things that I have done that I can kind of give you a little briefing on is a tank inside of a tank, and that's kind of a cool effect. So what you have to do is you get a smaller tank. This is where the 2.5 gallon is really nice, and you just put that inside. Now the problem is you can see there's a level difference. It's a little bit shorter. So when you're designing a scape like I did in the Beyond Earth piece, I literally took a couple sandbags. These are super furry because I have 3 furry dogs in the house. So hair is a problem. It's a very real problem. So whenever you can deal with this, try to do it outside of the tank. So you would just put this in here. If I don't want this under here specifically, this look, if I'm going to see this, you can wrap this in foil or whatever other design element you want. What that does is raises the tank closer to the height of the tank it's inside of. And then from there, what you can do, you can start to lay rocks or other sorts of things down in the bottom. Okay, be careful because it's glass, right? And then what you might do is, in my case, I use this little guy that I got on eBay. Yeah, from Tao Heavy Industries, and I just kind of put them in there, okay? And I'm just gonna lean them there for now. But basically what that's doing is giving a space where he doesn't have to get inked, where the ink's not gonna wrap around it. Maybe you want that, but if you don't want that, this gives you a space to do the inking and then have them in there. When you're filling a tank inside of a tank, you have to be very careful about floating. So what you want to do is when you fill, you want to fill the small tank, let it overflow into the big tank. And then when you drain it though, this is really important, you have to drain the big tank and then you can drain the small tank. So we're not gonna do this today, but it's a cool effect. And I'm just giving you the baseline for how to do something like that. So while I was shooting Mysterium, I used a 5-gallon bucket. In fact, I had 2 5-gallon buckets. And I would make my mixture in that bucket, and then I would bring that bucket out and dump it into the tank. When I wanted to empty the tank, I took a big cup and I just went ch, ch, ch. And you can do that, but you know, that gets really, really heavy because water weighs about 10 pounds per gallon. So you're looking at a 50-pound bucket, and you got to take that back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It also increases your hand in the water, which if you're like me, your hand starts breaking down and you start getting little cracks and sores, and it can be really problematic. And after having done that, I just did not want to do that again. But you can do it. For some of you lads and lasses that are out there that are younger and stronger, be my guest. But when I went back to shoot, I had, between that time, I had discovered some old fish tank gear that I had. And when I met my wife, we actually had 5 fish tanks between us. And over the course of the last maybe 15 years or more, since we had moved to California and gotten rid of those tanks, we haven't had another. So I forgot about that. But I was moving a box and I had some things. And I had this old Python maintenance service kit, whatever you want to call it. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to attach this to a sink, this end, and it comes with another adapter piece in there, but it comes with a few adapters so that you can get this all hooked up. And basically it's a pump. And they make this in maybe 25 feet, 50 feet, and 100 feet. And I'm not so sure, but I think the 100 foot is right around $100. And then maybe this is probably in the $50 for a 25 foot range. But this is money well spent for your physical well-being. So there is a little kind of area here, and I have one here. There is some stuff that allows you to attach to all sorts of sinks that you might have out there. But you'll have to find, you know, you have to figure that out yourself. But what's cool is, you know, when this is dialed in and up, it's going to force water through the tube and just fill your tank. When it's down, the water is going to go straight through this, creating a suction, and it's going to suction all the water out of the tank. I would say you have about roughly 5-minute fill time with my water here, the flow, and it takes about 7 minutes to drain the tank. Although when I do that, I do that twice. So when the tank gets almost drained, I'm going to go ahead and fill the tank and drain it again. What you could do is you could walk this over to your basin and you could rinse it out, and that would be just as good. If you have stuff in it, that's going to be problematic. That's going to cost you time because you're going to have to reset, and it might not be as close to where you want it to be. And things like to float and bubble and do all that stuff, so limiting that is good. I also don't want to move it, period, because it's glass and the risk of breaking it and slowing everything down to me is not worth that little time savings you might get from it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna attach this, and then we're gonna fill the tank. Alrighty, so I'm just gonna put this in here like so, cheat it around. I got a little hook kind of on a C-stand. Actually, it is the C-stand. I'm just kind of hooking the hose around there just to give it some support. And it's in here so it doesn't fall out or squirt out. Not that it would, but it makes me feel good. All right, so as you can see, it's starting to fill. This may take a few moments. What I normally do is I grab my LaxiClear.
So it's been brought to my attention that one thing I should probably mention is I have a brain issue where I say certain words incorrectly. I have been calling the Christmas wreath the Christmas reef for years, and it's very hard for me not to call it a reef instead of using the proper wreath. I will call the LaxiClear during this, and I will call the bowling light multiple times because my brain kicks in and thinks this is how it's called. And you know, my wife and kids make fun of me for these kinds of things, but know that I am mostly okay, and you are free to laugh at me.
And when the tank gets about a quarter to a third tank, I dump that in and I kind of stir it up as we go, and I clean the side a little bit. Yay, just like that. You don't want to clean too much before you start this process, because if you do, what's going to happen is you're going to just clean anyway, because you might have some things drip over, and when the solution drips over, it needs to be wiped, and you need Windex and water. When it gets filled and you have the Miralax in there, it's going to bubble a lot, and you're going to get little bubbles, and you can clean that off. Sometimes it actually looks cool, like stars on the back wall, and you leave some of it and knock some of it and kind of, you know, work it to get right. When I work it, I'll use my fingers in there, or when it's almost done and there's just little bits of bubbles, I'll just come in there and tap in a little bit, point edge, and tap that to kind of clear it how I want. So the snow effect that we're gonna have here, we're gonna create with the Miralax, and that's why we're not adding the Miralax right now. One problem that you can address that happens with the water, one problem if you have furry little creatures in your house like we do, is the hair. Is get something like this strainer, and you can just start scooping that out. Try not to dump it back in. Try to make quick movements that keep it back. There's not a lot, but I'm actually taking some out right now that's floating around on the top. Oh, hair. Hair is not good. Hair is bad. So, yeah, this is a real problem. And there was none in here, but what happens is I drag the tube across the ground and it gets hair, and I put the stuff in the tank earlier and that got hair, and you know, it's what we deal with. You know, there's in production, there's always, you can prepare, and that's what I do, but there's always something that's going to catch you. And if you're prepared, you can get on it, you can fix it, and you can get back to work. Having towels around, garage towels or stuff like that, is going to be a smart decision, because if you have a little spill or something, or, you know, you're going to want to clean that up. So we're almost there. This is cool. All right. And this is getting there. It's almost full, and I see some more hair. It's good to deal with it if you can before things start getting going. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna actually remove these now. Come around the front. We're gonna give this a little clean so we don't see this. Wipe. So when it comes to lighting, what I like to do is put the fish tank on a couple quarter apples, and that gives me a little space down here. You can see my hands. And that space down there allows me to put something like a matte light or I have a Bolin light that changes colors and stuff, and you can create, you know, some effects, and that's really cool. You can also light from the top. One thing that I like to do is I like to control the light. So out in this space, I basically use a flag and put this up over. You probably can't hear me well because I'm not mic'd this way. Like that. And that is really going to control my light. So I have it so I have a flag right here that can swing in and out. So I have access to the tank as I need it. I'm using duvet right here, and that kind of controls the light that's coming out towards the camera and could be lighting something on the other side of the tank. And what that could do is it could cause reflections. Another point to note is you want to turn off your, or actually if you can turn it off, you can do that. But what I do is I put a little piece of tape on the record light that's on the front of the camera, just because that little red light can show up on the glass. So I control all that light. I put a 4x4 floppy on that side overhead, and I have that floppy coming down on the side. And that creates like just a pocket of negative, you know, blackness. And that helps, like I said, to control any reflections on the glass. I'm gonna take a flex pad. I have a little diffusion on it, and I'm gonna slide that right in here. And I'm gonna go ahead and strike it. Now you're seeing that there's light coming up underneath, and that's a problem for the camera because some of it's lighting the front of the tank. So what we're gonna do is get a piece of doobie, and we are just going to tuck that doobie, which needs to be a little bit more, a little longer. So we're gonna tuck that doobie like this, and that's gonna block out the light in from doing things we don't want it to do, along with all the other stuff. Right now we're peeled back because I want to be able to show you what we're doing. Crazy. I need a haircut so bad. COVID hair. All right. We are now ready to make snow. I'm going to swivel out the flag and the doobie so that we can, for this demo, see everything kind of that's going on illuminated. I'm also going to leave on this light, and we're just going to do it because now you know that you can just close that up and create that black over there. All right, so all you have to do this on the way to setup is not add the Laxiclear while you're mixing the water, because you will need the Laxiclear to make the snow. And you just take the Laxiclear and you're just going to dump it in there very carefully. You don't want it on the back or the front because it will create more bubbles. Okay, so here we go. I'm just gonna just drop it in there, a little bit in there, a little bit in there, and you're gonna see it's gonna sink to the bottom. Actually, we could probably add a little more than that. And it's gonna look crazy at first. You're gonna be zoomed in on the aquarium so that you can have a tighter shot of this, but it'll start to settle. You can see that it's fizzling up. And since we're lighting from the bottom, that's where the sun source would come from for snow. All you have to do is take it in post and just flip that image upside down, and you have the light coming from the top and the snow falling down instead of rising up. Inversely, the rising up is pretty cool. If you had like a cauldron or something and you just masked it off, you could have tiny bubbles or tiny like particles rising from a cauldron. So pretty cool, pretty easy to do. And as it starts to dissipate and become less, you can create, by stirring a little bit, as you see what I'm doing, some different movements in creating flurries and just really make it a unique look. And when you're out in the snow, the particles of snow are not moving straight down necessarily. They're moving left and right, and the wind And the updraft is kind of moving them around in a unique way that can never be repeated. So if you want to achieve that organic feel, it's good to stir a little bit. You can also fill a syringe with just water, and you can create currents by putting it down in and pushing it. That's that for snow effect. You know, I would just record and let it dissipate and have different variances of that. Don't worry, I'm gonna create a separate little video that's a screen capture for some of you that won't know how to use this, and I'll just walk you through it in Premiere on a little tutorial on how to use this footage and get you started, okay? I was looking at my coffee, the cream this morning, and it looked like it was kind of like making a mushroom cloud, and it might be cool to do that. So what we would need to do is put it on the bottom here like this, pointing up, and I have just like a little elbow attaching to the tube, little suction, and then a small piece of tube, and then a connection for the needle. I'm going to use this gauge and give that a try. I'm gonna travel down here, and we'll just suction that so that the needle is somewhere in the middle. I'm gonna bring my milk over here, my evaporated milk. I'm just gonna go ahead and draw that in, as you can see, and get it pretty full because I don't have to use all of it. I make these little caps, these little short caps, and I'm just gonna cap it off for now. We could put some black foil to get, if we saw the bottom, we could even put a little mountain or something around it and create like a volcanic explosion with a color. That would be cool. Sometimes what you're gonna have is, if you're coming out from the side, you're gonna have all of this running to the needle, and there's gonna be a little drip kind of happening, and it's gonna be polluting the tank. And what you can do is just pull back slightly on the syringe, and that'll create some suction, like a little vacuum, and that should stop it. So we're gonna just go slowly with this. Watch those little bubbles go up. Here it comes. We're on the down. Here it comes. Here it comes. Then I am gonna stop as we get into the release area. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Okay? So because it's down, it seems like it's not going to do too much, but you see it there. And what we're going to do is just kind of waft that around. Get rid of it. Cool. See? So one other thing I think would be cool is if we put the bowling light in there, creating some different colors. It's getting hot in here, so we want to hurry this up for the most part. That is so bright, I'm blind. Looking down in there. All right. There's a little nervousness coming up to this moment because you've spent so much time filling and that, but you have to take a deep breath and just go. And let's go ahead and do that. 3, 2, 1. I don't know. Was that cool? I didn't see it. We're going to do a little more and see how that goes, okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we'll let it spill out. Ooh. Let's see. All right, so last time we did it, I decided I wanted to reshoot this, which is often the case. You discover something. I was using a wider gauge, and I'm going to go to a smaller gauge to slow down the movement. and we'll just see how that works. A lot of this is trial and error, right? So we've made the changes. We've gone with the smaller gauge needle. We've cleaned the water, and now the tank is up and running, and we're gonna go ahead and inject the milk with a little bit of black to make it more of a gray tone so it doesn't illuminate quite as much. 3, 2, 1, boom. That was kind of cool though. That was kind of fun. Yeah, I mean, that's what you do is you try and you see how limited. We got one shot out of this maybe. This tank is dead, so we are going to remove and we are going to begin the cleanup. Guys, it's fun to do this. If you do it, just have some fun with it. And you know what? I'd love to see your footage.
I hope I didn't bore you too much. I'll get better though.
I should also mention that I will be doing a little tutorial to get you primed on how to use the snow effect that I'm going to provide that download for you. I know there's some people out there, it's just going to be how I do it. And I know there's some people out there that are going to take that and do some amazing things. And I hope you'll share it so I can see what you're doing, along with any cloud tank footage or ink drop footage that you make. I would love to see it. So please, don't forget about me.
Hey, ha, 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 ho, 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 yee, ha, ch. Oh, nice job, little guy. He's dancing too. Boo.